The topic for discussion on today's video is how small compromises can gradually erode your self-respect. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, for example, what if you found yourself in a situation where you haven't heard from someone for a while, they've called you up and they're like, hey mate, I'd like to borrow X amount of dollars off you. Your first instinct is no way. And what do? You find yourself saying yes. And then resentment starts building. Well, if you find yourself having been in this situation or situations like this, sit down, put your feet up, and you're going to enjoy this video. You know, it's not just money. It could be somebody calling you up and asking you for a lift to the airport. You've been in that situation where like that person calls you and you know they wouldn't do it for you. And they're just one of those strong personalities. And they're like, hey, you know, and what are you doing on Tuesday? And you know something's coming, they're wanting a favour, and you find yourself saying yes, and then for the next few days you're just cringing at the thought that like you're going to go to the airport, and it just consumes your whole day. Well, this is how I feel with these things. Well, that's part of this. This is like your self-respect being eaten away. Look, I'm not saying don't take someone to the airport. I'm not saying don't have friends. I'm just saying learn boundaries. If this is a person that would never do that for you, why are you doing that for them? You know, do you really want a friend that badly? They know what they're doing. They know you're going to say yes. They know that there are other people out there that they can't ask. Believe me, I'm telling you. There are people out there, just stop and think about this. If somebody's asking you to go to the airport, and you know that type of person, by the way, I'm talking about the one that wouldn't do it for you. There are people they respect that they would not ask. So the fact that they're asking you means they think you're a soft target. How does that make you feel? Stop and think about that. Honestly, it's true. I've been in these situations, and I'm telling you, once you learn to say no, you're getting back a little piece of your self-respect. And I'm telling you now, they will start to respect you. You will get more respect from them, or they'll drop off. And if they drop off, who were they? Nothing. What were they really to you? Nothing. Are they really a friend? Nah. Have you lost anything? Probably not. Maybe an associate, maybe someone you can have a coffee with, but I'm telling you now, they're not a real friend. So please keep that in mind. You know, it's never too late. You really need to look within and ask yourself the question, you know, am I getting the respect I deserve? The other thing about ignoring disrespect is, and the reason we probably do it, is we don't want to make things awkward. Well, sometimes you've got to confront this, and to be perfectly honest, if you find yourself, I'll just use the lift to the airport situation. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't want to do it, I mean, there's nothing wrong with just laughing and going, no mate, I've got better things to do. Like, sure, I can't imagine you'd be taking me. What's their reaction? And probably 9 times out of 10, you'll get some sort of aggressive response. There's your answer. I really don't need to say any more. So I think we've covered that topic quite clearly. Now, the issue that probably causes the greatest amount of erosion to one's self-respect is money. Look, it's a difficult one, right? I'm not talking about $20. Well, $20 is a good way to find out what somebody's really all about. However, I'm talking about when somebody wants 500, 1,000, and you're in that awkward situation where you've said yes and you really meant no, and you've given them the money, and now all you can think about is, am I going to get it back? Can I afford it? Have you ever found yourself in that situation where, say, you've lent someone $200 and at the time you're flush, 2 weeks goes by, you haven't heard from them, surprise, surprise. Now you have a bill and you need the money. And then they make you feel like the bad person, you know, you get that response like, stop hassling me, or, you know, I'll give it to you when I can, or I told you, you know, all of a sudden their demeanor's changed, they've got what they want, or they've been, you know, surrounding you and messaging you and love bombing you up until the point of the request. That's another red flag too, by the way. If somebody that you normally don't hear from all of a sudden bobs up and then asks the favour, I mean, that's the time to say no straight away. However, you know, it doesn't even have to be about money. Yeah, it's time to get back your self-respect, guys. Don't lend them the money. Experience has taught me that at some point it's going to become a bad debt, and at some point you're going to sever ties and you're just not going to feel good about it. It's not worth it, honestly. I mean, there's always that one person in your life, it's like, you know, maybe like family and that you can really, really trust, and you don't care if it comes back, then that's different. I'm not saying don't lend it. You know, it might even be charity and you feel like, you know, somebody's much worse off than you, you've got money, they're not even asking you for a loan. That's not about self-respect, that's just about being a good human being. I'm talking about, you know, the exact situation of, you know, the person that love bombs you, you don't hear from them very often. You know the type. I probably don't even need to keep going on and on about it, but honestly, today's the day you stop, today's the day you say no, today's the day you find a new friend, or today's the day you move on. But more importantly, it's time to get back your dignity and just say no. This is also about learning to be honest with yourself, honest with other people, honest about your feelings, getting back your peace, getting back your dignity, and just living life, you know, on a more consistent sort of flow and on your terms. Peace is really important. You don't want that drama. You don't want to be that person that every time you catch up with other people, you're the one complaining. You know, these are problems that you've created yourself. I mean, that person only asked you for the money. You didn't have to give it. I've done it. I've been there. One example that comes to mind, and I actually said to this person, never again, was going back a bit. They wanted a couple of hundred, so which is a couple of hundred in Australia. And they promised to give it back to me on, say, a Tuesday when it was a Friday. And I'm like, okay, whatever, just to get rid of them. Anyway, they were a bit late. I think they might have been 2 or 3 days late, which wasn't too bad. Anyway, we arranged to catch up and have a coffee. And the first thing I said was, when we got to this venue, was, hey, business out the way and let's have a coffee. And the look that they gave me was the most hostile, sort of like I'm accusing him of stealing almost. And he just, it was, the energy in the room, you could cut it with a knife. He didn't give it to me. We had our coffee, and then at the very end, he sort of like reached into his pocket. I wouldn't say threw it at me, but it was close enough. And was almost like, sort of saying, thank you, like, are you right? It was sort of like that. And I just looked at him and said, don't ever ask me for a loan again, mate. Don't ever make me feel like a beggar. Do not do it. Anyway, of course, there was a time where he did. And I just politely said to him, look, I'm blocking you on Facebook Messenger right now. You're not getting the money. So anyway, we still talk to this day, but guess what? He's never asked me for a cent again. When your actions finally start to match your values, or your newfound values, you'd be amazed at the calmness you begin to feel. It's like, imagine now, you know, you're like, you know, 85 kilos and overweight, and you go to the gym and you know, that first session just kills you, and then 4 months down the track, you're fit, you're bouncing, you're jumping out of bed, you go in the gym. Well, it's exactly the same as when you've got a healthy mindset with boundaries, clear boundaries, and you stick to them, okay? So I don't know how much clearer I can be about all this. It's really important. You've got to be respected by people. If you're not respected, they will just walk over you. And again, you don't have to be hostile. You don't have to be mean. There will be times where, I keep using the money, but this is, you know, one of the most common things. There will be times you can help someone. There will be times that, you know, it's someone you love dearly and they're in a situation or a predicament, and you know what, you might have to say goodbye to 100, 200, 500 bucks. If you can, do it. It's also a good thing. It's a good deed. That's not about boundaries and self-respect. That's about helping someone in need. I'm talking about a completely different thing. I'm talking about someone that doesn't value you, doesn't value your time, doesn't value your friendship. I think once you can also make that differentiation, that's also a sign of maturity and a sign of growth. So please don't think that I'm saying don't help someone out who's in need in life. If you're able to help somebody, help them. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. That's not today's video's discussion. Now, what about you? Does any of this resonate with you? I guess I didn't use a lot of points to illustrate the self-respect, but I think, you know, in a society such as ours now, where, you know, it's fast money, you know, internet banking and, you know, pay ID, you know, it's so much easier and harder, paradoxically. You know, now there's no excuse to say, well, I'm not home, or I haven't been to the bank, because, you know, you're in a situation now where you can just, you know, ship that money in 4 seconds. So it's very hard to say no and lie. So you pretty much just got to be honest. So Sorry about that dog. I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear your comments, and I'd love to know what you think. You know, drop a like below, drop a share. Give me some suggestions for other videos. This is my first week, really appreciate it. The videos haven't had a huge amount of views yet, but the actual reels themselves, I think in about 4 or 5 days I've had 7,000 views with a pretty good retention rate. So I think the algorithm's liking the topic, I think the algorithm's liking the discussions, and I'm hoping you guys are liking the videos. So I want to keep doing them. I enjoy it. I want to build a community of like-minded people. I'd like to be a voice for those that can't speak, and I want to help you speak, and I want to help you stand up, and I want to help you be the best version of yourself, including me. You know, if that helps me grow as well, well, that's awesome. So I'll see you on the next video.